Welcome to Lattice Work series from Safal Niveshak. Once upon a time, back in British India, in the city of Delhi, the population of cobra snakes was starting to become unmanageable. So to solve the problem, the government officials decided to enroll the general public by announcing a brilliant scheme. Come with a dead cobra and go with a cash reward. Pretty simple solution, right? But there was just one small flaw with this idea. It did not work. In fact, it turned out to be a very bad idea. Initially, the incentive did seem to work when people started killing the snakes and they would queue up to collect the reward. But after a few months, the officials started feeling that something wasn't right. According to their calculations, almost all the snakes in the city should have been killed by that time. But the rate at which people were bringing dead snakes wasn't slowing down. So what was going on? Actually, it's not very hard to guess once you understand the power of incentives. More snakes equals more money. So initially, people rushed to kill as many snakes available at that time, and almost all the cobra snakes in the city were killed within very few months of the announcement. But think about it. If a person has made some money by killing snakes, the next question he's gonna ask himself is, how do I make more money when there are no snakes available? You just create new snakes, and that's what people did. They started breeding cobras for easy money. So as soon as the officials found out about this new trend of breeding cobras, they immediately cancelled their kill the cobra incentive scheme. Now, this was certainly a bad move on their part, because by that time, thousands of new cobras had already been bred, waiting in people's backyards, ready to be cashed. With the incentives gone, cobra breeders had no choice but to let out these cobras onto the streets. So in the end, the city of Delhi ended up with more cobras than ever. The anecdote is a brilliant example how well-intentioned policies can sometimes backfire on your face. We call this the law of unintended consequences. So the law states that sometimes even well-meaning actions can do more harm than good. The outcomes don't always follow intentions. That's why you would notice that many a times the popular policies and schemes launched by government and well-meaning policymakers end up creating even bigger problems. So what's the common pattern that we see in these kind of situations? What we see is that somebody tries to modify the behavior of a system by tinkering, maybe in a small way, but that small action produces significant unexpected repercussions. Remember Newton's first law? Every action has a reaction. And in real world, every decision, every action not only has an intended reaction but also an unintended one too. Which means no matter how carefully we plan, we just can't anticipate every single thing. So it makes sense to model the world around us like a complex adaptive system. Let's look at complex systems first. Take a look around you. What do you see? You are surrounded by complex systems. Your car, your television, your smartphone, are all complex systems. They involve multiple independent moving parts that interact with each other to produce the desired behavior. So, is your body a complex system? Actually, it's more than that. When you exercise, your body builds new muscles and stronger bones. It adapts. That makes our bodies complex adaptive systems. Another good example is traffic. So when you are stuck in a traffic and you see cars everywhere, what do? You probably try to optimize by changing your lane, or you probably take an alternate route to your destinations. So traffic is a system in which its inhabitants adapt to each other's reactions. The key component of a complex adaptive system is the social element, the presence of a feedback loop between interacting parts. On the other hand, the belts and pulleys inside a car do not communicate with each other. They don't have the ability to modify their behavior or self-correct their behavior in response to the behavior of other parts. So now we just saw how a human body is a complex adaptive system. But what about the human society? When you buy a new iPad that is manufactured in China with materials derived from African soils and with softwares developed by programmers from India, you need to realize that those are made by autonomous organizations, firms, and individuals. Many individual actions are guided by rules and agreements we have developed, but there is no ruler who can control these interactions. So there seems to be an invisible ruler who is governing all the results and actions happening in the system. Society is thus a complex adaptive system. When you're dealing with a complex adaptive system, you have to look at it as a whole system in which actions and reactions are taking place. So the system is more than just the sum of its parts. You can't work with just one part and hope that the other parts won't get affected. Warren Buffett's partner, Charlie Munger, very well understood the risks of unintended consequences while dealing with social systems. So when he was asked about corporate responsibility for social problems, he said, "I'm all for fixing social problems. I'm all for being generous to the less fortunate. What I'm against is being very confident and feeling that you know for sure that the particular intervention will do more good than harm, given that you're dealing with highly complex systems where everything is interacting with everything else." So now that we know what we are dealing with, let's explore how complex adaptive system mental model can help us understand the stock market. After all, that's what the purpose of learning these mental models is, right? To become a better investor. Complex adaptive systems is a very useful way to think about the stock market, since the market are built on many investors' personal views and in transactions, and of course their own behavioral biases. This is continually adapting to new information under conditions of uncertainty and complexity. In fact, the efficient market theory has its roots in this idea. The EMT assumes that the ability of stock market to instantaneously adapt to any new information or fact is flawless. But where EMT fails is to take into account that complex adaptive systems don't always go in the direction of correction. From time to time, they can and they do become highly unstable precisely because of their ability to respond to any stimuli. Which means that because of these unpredictable dynamics of markets, forecasting, especially in short term, is next to impossible. It's an extremely tough problem to forecast the direction of stock market, or for that matter, interest rates, currency rates, GDP, or market cycles. You'll always find people who claim to know the cause and effect relationship in market cycles, but you should understand that the theories behind those forecasts are almost always built with the advantage of hindsight. So here's the thing, if you want to save yourself from severe losses, don't believe the financial experts and stock market gurus who confidently say that they can forecast accurately and consistently. The more widely publicized forecast, the less reliable it is. Complex adaptive systems are also very useful to think about problems while making business decisions. Here is an example of a common mistake that many naive business managers usually make. They see sales volumes dropping, and in an attempt to correct that, they reduce prices. They reason that what they lose on price will be made up by increased volume and the market share. They fail to anticipate all the consequences of cutting prices. For example, they forget to ask, what if the increased volume is not supported by their current capacity? What if the competition also cuts prices? What if the price cut reduces the brand value perception for the customer? So you have to learn to think about second order effects. Second level thinking is a very effective skill to deal with the uncertainties of stock market. So when you're about to buy a stock, this is what you should ask yourself. Why is the seller selling it? How would I reason if I think it through from the viewpoint of the other person? Why would I make a better decision than someone who has all the information? What is the probability that I'm right? These questions can save you from the unexpected consequences of your decision. Complex adaptive system provides a very useful perspective to demystify the stock market behavior, and not just the stock market, but it gives you an edge in business analysis too. Becoming a sensible investor is just a small piece of a bigger puzzle, the puzzle called acquisition of worldly wisdom. If you found this video useful, you may want to subscribe to Safal Niveshak's newsletter. Safal Niveshak, Value Investing Made Simple.